This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by former IBF world champion Darren Barker here in London. Darren, how are you?
Very well. My kids are just sat there and they're making me laugh. But yeah, good. Always good to be back at the O2. I love it.
Obviously, the show returns this weekend. We don't get to see White in, but we do see Chantel Cameron versus Mary-McGee. We'll just start from that fight and work our way down. And what do you expect to see in that unification bout, Darren?
A cagey start from Chantel Cameron. If you look at Mary-McGee's record, she's got 15 KOs, so she can punch. So I think Chantel's got to be wary early on, just control the distance, get behind the jab, but I just feel she's a far superior boxer than Mary-McGee, and I think as time goes on she'll start looking for the right hand over the top of, I wouldn't call it a lazy jab, it's just it's a slow kind of jab from Mary-McGee, and I think someone with the amateur pedigree and the skill and the speed that Chantel Cameron has, I think she'll be far too fast for a Mary-McGee and start looking for that right hand over the top.
Chantel's got huge ambitions to achieve as much as she can in the sport. She wants to become undisputed champion. She wants to face Katie Taylor amongst other fights. How important is it that with this fight now, it's a unification one, biggest fight in her career so far, that she not only wins but she does so and she looks good?
Yeah, look, I think you said it there. I think winning is the most important thing because, look, she'll have one eye on the bigger picture. Look, I love the idea, I love the concept. 2 semi-finals, 1 final for the undisputed champion. And though she'll be looking at the bigger picture, she'll be looking at the being undisputed queen. She's got to get the job done. She's got to beat Mary-McGee. And like I say, I think winning is the most important thing. But she'll want to look good. And I think, if I'm deadly honest, if you're Chantel Cameron and you're picking the ideal person to fight, I think it's Mary-McGee. And there's no disrespect to Mary-McGee. She's very tough. She's game. She's aggressive. She works a lot. But I think that will play into the hands of Cameron, who won't have to go looking for her. She's quicker. She's a better skilled out of the two. And I think stylistically it makes sense. It makes sense what I'm saying. I'm believing what I'm saying because I just look at it and I think, yeah, Chantel Cameron's just leagues above. But this is boxing. Anything can happen. And what I touched on and why you have to give Mary-McGee a slimmer of hope is because she's got 15 KOs on the record.
Craig Richards returned since his defeat to Dimitri Bivol. What are you expecting to see from him on his return? And there's a lot of talk about a potential domestic bout in the pipeline, potentially for Craig, provided Saturday goes to plan.
Yeah, I think a good bounce back win. I think he'll want to look good. I think what's missing from Craig is that tempo, that spite, that aggression. Anyone who knows Craig is the most laid back man in boxing. Super chilled out, but the issue with that is it reflects in the ring. He kind of fights at his tempo. He doesn't really get out of the comfort zone. For me, he needs to bite down on the gumshoe when he hurts his opponent. Fucking get rid of him. Be a bit more spiteful. And I think he's got that in him somewhere. He's definitely got the talent. He punches harder than his record suggests. I thought Bivol felt a couple of his right hands, and there was times I felt if he would have put his foot down, I'm not saying he would have beaten him, but he could have made a better statement. But he can take confidence away from that fight, knowing if he would have given it a bit more, he could have done better. So he seems in good spirits. He seems up for it, and he seems up for proving some of the doubters wrong. And I'm looking forward to a spiteful display. I think that's what's needed.
Yusuf Kamaru and Jorge Castaneda is a terrific fight, yes.
Fight of the night, without that. Go on.
I was going to say, as you mentioned, their fight of the night, but what should everybody expect to see from you? Eddie's just saying war. I saw Castaneda versus Ofer Jones, a terrific performance from him. What should everybody expect to see back home?
Well, Castaneda versus Ofer Jones was a brilliant fight. He was getting beaten, I think, early on, and then he hurt Ofer Jones in about the third, fourth round, and then it was just he put his foot on the gas and he didn't stop working. He can take a shot, he can punch. This is a brilliant fight, it really is. Yusuf Kamaru, I'm a big fan of Kamaru's, I really am, because he looked good against Cain Baker. Then he went out to Barcelona where me and Mike Costello just walked in, commentated on him, and I don't want to make any excuses for Yusuf, but it was very hot in there. I think he struggled to get up for the fight, and he was just a little bit flat, and he made it harder than he needed to. I think he's another one, a little bit like Craig Richards, when he goes through the gears and lets his hands go. He's a joy to watch. Good variation, mixes up well to the head and body, sets traps, touches upstairs, drops downstairs, vice versa. But Castaneda, yeah, he's an handful. When you look at this and the way that Kamaru has approached fights in the past, not afraid to get stuck in, I think this has got the ingredients to be a cracker.
Last one from the card before we touch on other subjects. Babic Molina. Eric, granted, he's coming towards the end of his career now, but how much of a different proposition do you think he will pose to Alan Babic? What should we read into from his last fight with Fabio Wardley?
Well, look, he can punch. He's only been beaten by the best. Yeah, look, and his experience. Look, there's two ways he can approach this, Molina. Do you try and drag Babic into a war and get it late? You know, sort of rough him up, hold on to him. He's the smaller out of the two. Babic, to try and hold on and drag him around and get him into the later rounds and hope that he tires. Or plan B, which I think he should adopt, is just go for it, hell for leather, try and knock Babic out. Just throw everything at him in 2 rounds and kind of hope for the best. He can punch. Babic can be caught. But I just think the pace and the tempo that Babic fights at will be too much for Molina at this stage in his career.
Now, just moving on to a couple of other topics. We're doing this interview before the Dillian Watt press conference, but I just want you to get your thoughts on, obviously he's pulled out of his fight with Otto Wallin due to a shoulder injury. There were some rumours, not necessarily rumours, but people trying to kind of make something of a story of him potentially pulling out with the Tyson Fury fight in the pipeline to be mandated. I just want to get your thoughts on it. Do you think that could have been a possibility?
Yeah, of course. I would find out a bit more now, but the way I look at the Wallin fight was a very, very tough fight for Dillian Whyte. When you look at that stylistically, Wallin likes to, well, he can move, he can fight on the front foot, he does a bit of everything, he's busy, he throws a lot of jabs. There could be a case that he'd outwork Dillian Whyte. If Dillian Whyte is not 100% going into that fight, why take it? You know, I don't think Dillian Whyte needs to prove himself to anyone. He's proved to us all already that he's willing to get in there and fight the best. Got straight back in there with Povetkin after getting knocked spark out. You know, it was, that's testament to his heart and courage. So I don't think we need to question that. I just think if you're not 100% and there's the potential of one of the biggest fights in boxing looming, then you've got to be selfish in this sport. You know, as much as you want to please the fans, etc., you get one crack at this. You got to do what's right for you, and he's doing what's right for him.
As we do expect to see Tyson and Dillian mandated by the WBC in the coming weeks, Dillian said recently after his fight with Deontay Wilder, he feels that Tyson's slowing down, which is why he's probably adopted more of an aggressive style that we saw in both of the last 2 Deontay Wilder fights. Do you see that? Do you maybe agree with that, or do you think otherwise he's just added another string to his bow?
I can agree with both there. I think he's that talented that he can add another string to his bow. But I do believe it may be a case of the first thing. I remember, I hate referencing myself, but I was talking when I was boxing when I was young. My style of boxing was quick reactions in and out. But as you get older, it gets a bit harder to do that, and you get a bit more I would say complacent, but you're just used to the shots coming, so it's a bit easier to sort of plant your feet and let your hands go. And like I touched on already, you do slow down a little bit. When I fought Gil, that was totally out of character. I don't really fight like that, but it was that will to win, and that just, the body just slowing down a little bit. So yeah, I think it's a bit of both. When you're as big as him, and you're starting to believe in your power and your size, you understand that you're bigger. I mean, what a buzz that is to be able to stand in the centre ring and push your opponents back. Not many are going to push him back. He's an absolute beast. He's a unit. So it just makes him, now that he has adopted this kind of style, going by the last 2 Deontay Wilder fights, he's an hard man to beat. He really is. He's a nightmare. How do you train for a Tyson Fury? he's a nightmare, and you know, rightly so, the number one heavyweight in the world right now.
So how, if you was Dillian Whyte, how would you approach a fight with Tyson Fury?
Just aim for the body, work the body, jab the body, 1-2 to the body, all straight shots, and as you get closer, work back upstairs. And when you get upstairs, drop downstairs. You have to work this area first, the body, because when you're leaning back like Tyson does, look, the body stays there. That doesn't go anywhere. Tyson does move his feet, but he has a tendency to lean out of the way of shots. So when somebody's doing that, you have to jab the body, backhand to the body, let the body shots go, then work upstairs. So yeah, and you got to fight at a tempo. I think you got to be busy. You can't sort of stand off Tyson and throw 1s and 2s and load up with shots because it'll make you look silly. So I think, yeah, being busy and working the body.
How big of a fight would you say Fury-White is for the UK?
Oh, it's massive. And look, to be fair, any fight Fury's in is huge, and no doubt there would have been plenty of bums on seats if Dillian Whyte was fighting Saturday night. He's always a big draw. The O2 loves him, London loves him. So for a UK domestic dust-up, I think it's massive. It's a fight I'm very much up for.
Final thing, Darren, before I do let you go, Anthony Joshua, there's a lot of talk about whether he will or will not stick with his current training setup.
Where's he going? Get him more croissants. My son's raiding the croissants out there and all the sweets, whatever they are. Sorry.
Better somebody than nobody, Darren, so otherwise it'll go to waste. But yeah, final thing, there's a lot of talk or reports about AJ potentially leaving his current training setup. He's done an interview recently saying that he's still currently with the current team that he has, but he has been out in New York, out in the States rather, speaking to different trainers, just taking more knowledge on. What's your take on that entire situation?
Look, you've got to do what's right for you. If he feels he needs... I don't know what's going on. I don't know if that's the case. I haven't watched Coogan's interview, so I'm not too clued up on the situation. But look, sometimes I was lucky enough. I had Tony Sims just before I turned pro to the end. He worked for me. And Rob McCracken obviously has worked for Anthony Joshua. They've been a very successful team. But sometimes you may feel that you need to freshen things up a little bit, add a few more strings to your bow. We talk about Tyson Fury, etc. Just another voice, another set of eyes on you to help you. Look, again, like I already said, you get one crack at this. You've got to do what's right for you. I don't believe getting rid of Rob McCracken is the right thing to do. I think it's important for him to stay around. I see Tony Sims talking about get George Foreman in, someone like that. I'd be well for that, pro that. Someone just to get in his ear, someone to lift the spirits of Anthony Joshua, someone to get that ruthless sort of mentality, install that into him. I think it's there. It's extracting it out of him. Look, he's just got to do what's right for him. What I will say though, I don't think there needs to be one voice. There's got to be one clear voice. So it's okay having these different people in the camp, but it's so important when you get in the ring that when you have that 1 minute and you sat down on your stool, you're listening to one person. There's not loads of people screaming and shouting, because if you're not on the same page and people are screaming different things, you can it can be so confusing. One clear voice, one clear leader. But if you want to have different people in the training camp, then you crack on. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. Look, do you know what? I'm looking forward to the rematch, if I'm honest, in the sense that if you're Anthony Joshua, you say to yourself, look, I was a bit rebellious. I tried to outbox the master. It went tits up. I come off second best. This time, I'll weigh 20 pounds heavier. I'm going to rough him up. I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to stick it on him and use my size advantage, and I'll put that into the fight. You talk like that, I think that sells. The rematch sells. You just can't go in there trying to outbox Usyk, in my opinion, who is one of the best technical boxers boxing's ever seen. He's that good.
Darren, we'll leave it there and I'll leave you to get back to your children, because your son seems to be mixing drinks here. Yeah, so it's a pleasure.
He's a cocktail maker.
It's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. I'll speak to you later on.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you for speaking to me.
See you later on, mate.